am looking a little bit jet lagged still, but here, I arrived home. What day is it today? Wednesday. I arrived home late, very late Monday night from Morocco. In case you weren't aware, that's where I was. So please pop in the chat where you are watching from this evening, which it would be great. We get members from all over the country, and I know we've got a few non-members watching, joining us tonight as well. So it'd be really cool to know where you are watching from as well. So we've got 1 minute to go, and then we'll get started. I know everyone rushes in at the last minute, so we'll get started in just a moment. Joining me is Mandy. Now, Mandy, if you can start your video, that would be awesome as well. There she is. Hello,
Hello,
Mandy. How are you?
everyone. Hey, Yvonne.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Welcome home.
Thanks. I tried to have a little bit of a power nap this afternoon.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
good.
I got half an hour in, and then I was terrified I was not going to wake up in time. So I mustn't have gone deep enough in my sleep, but that's all right. No one's home at my house tonight, so I'll go to bed um, pretty soon after I cook some dinner. So that will be a good thing. All right. Well, it is time for us to get started. So if you are here, thank you very much for joining us on our live Q&A, your hiking questions answered. It's Yvonne here, in case we haven't met, and a few of you looking at some names there I haven't met before, but many of you I have. And if you haven't met Mandy, then this is Mandy, one of our crew leaders.
Everyone.
You'll see her on the trails as well as on Facebook and our multi-day adventures as well, jumping in there and asking you questions and asking you to respond to things as well and answering your questions. So tonight we are talking about Ask Us Anything, your hiking questions answered. So what we're going to do is put the questions, if you have it, into Q&A. So if you're new to Zoom, Q&A is down along the bottom. Well, it might not be on the bottom, but it is on mine. So pop the question in there. We won't answer anonymous questions, so you need to keep your name. I don't think that you can change your name to anonymous anyway. And we will read the questions out loud, so that if anyone is watching on replay or you want to go back to the replay, you'll know what we're talking about. We'll ask the question and then answer the question. So if you have some questions, please drop them in the Q&A right now. We have had a few questions come in, so we'll just do this bounce around between us and your comments as well, because we have a lot of members in our community who have lots of hiking experience as well. So we'd love for you to add your expertise into the chat as well. So if you've got expertise, add it into the chat. And if you've got questions, pop them into the Q&A. So I've just got 3 slides tonight. So why are we having a live Q&A masterclass? Because we want real time and we want real voices. We want a safe space for all questions. So there's no judgment here. If you think the question is worth asking, chances are 25,000 other million people will want that question asked as well. Just need to put up your hand. Mandy and I and the other crew leaders who couldn't make it tonight are hiking on the trails every day. We are living and breathing hiking with every move that we do. So you're going to get all of our experience plus the experience of the other women who are here with you tonight. And the advice that we're going to give you is for women. It's not just generic advice that is created, by searching Google or searching AI. We're talking about women's bodies. We're talking about women's goals at women's pace, in women's space, out on the trails. So Mandy, do you want to just say hello to everyone here and those watching on replay?
Yeah, hello everyone. Great to have you with us. I'm looking forward to tonight. I'm sure that I might learn something myself tonight, Yvonne, by some of our members that I'm sure have got lots of tips and tricks up their sleeve. So yeah, I'm very excited to be here tonight to join everyone and try and answer some questions along the way.
Excellent. Awesome. So what we are going to do is I've got some questions which I'll lead off with, and we're also going to cover or can cover anything in these topics or anything else that you may have thought of that we haven't. So fitness and getting ready, hiking gear and gadgets, mindset and motivation, and planning for your first or your next adventure. So one of the questions that came in, and Mandy, let's have a chat about this one, is I'm thinking of doing a full pack hike and looking for a tent? That
Yeah,
was the
that's a question.
question. So when you think about that question, there's a couple of things because tents, not all tents, like not all raincoats, are created equal, right? So what do
Like,
you think?
well, I've done a few multi-day with taking a tent, and for me, I'm not going solo. I'm going with a partner. So for us, we can share the load. So that does make it a lot easier. So if you are purchasing a tent, you need to consider the weight of the tent. So, and are you going on within Australia? Where are you going with that tent? Are you going to Tasmania? Because if you're going to Tasmania, things may be a little bit different. My husband and I are looking at going to Tassie sometime in November, and we know that we're going to have to be considering we might have to upgrade or hire a tent because our tent may not be suitable. So there's things like the durability of the tent. What is your budget? How much can you afford to spend? Like tents aren't a cheap purchase. And there's lots and lots of tents on the market now. And our tent is actually like a 2 to 3 man tent because we want a little bit of extra room because, you can put your gear inside it if you need to.
Mm.
So it really depends on a lot of things. Your destination, obviously, where you're going, as we suggested, and the weight. Like I think it's about a 1 kilogram per person. So you're looking for up to 2 kilograms would be your ideal pack weight for a tent. Durability as well and waterproofing. Is it
Mm.
waterproof? What is the material? What is it made of? Is it freestanding or do you need to use your poles? There's lots
Holes.
of questions like that. So a freestanding tent is way easier to use than hooking your poles in
Oh,
because you might be on uneven terrain or anything like that. So does the tent come with its own quite often you have to purchase an additional like the underlay underneath the tent to protect the tent from the terrain. So there's lots of questions you need to ask, and you really need to do your research about what you're looking for as far as it goes to when you're purchasing a tent.
absolutely. And a couple of things to that. We have got as a company a ultra lightweight hiking tent that we have never used because it
Mm,
requires a pole to hold it
yeah,
up. And if you then are set up, you hike in and you're set up for a couple of days, and you need to take your poles with you to go on a hike, does the tent fall down? Possibly because you're taking away the structure of the tent. And then yeah, when you hike in the Northern Territory in winter, it generally doesn't rain. So you only take the
yeah,
fly. You don't take
the outer
um
shell. That's right. Yeah.
yeah, that's right. The other thing is just I just had a text through. So just pop any questions or comments then into um the Q&A. I'll check the chat in a minute. It looks like it's still disabled, even though I fixed it. Um, the other thing is my husband and I, 30 years ago, we traveled around the world with our backpacks for 12 months and we took a tent. We bought a tent back then in 1996, so last century's tent, which we still have. Um, it weighs 1.3 kilos and it fitted both of us and
Yeah,
our packs in there.
that's light.
So yeah, it's really light. We just bought it from a camping store, but we knew what we wanted and we knew what we wanted it for. And I think that's the criteria that you would that you
Yeah,
should base any purchase for any piece of hiking gear and equipment is what's it for? What are the weather conditions? And then what does it mean? Is it a once-off purchase or is it an ongoing purchase?
yeah. Well, I've got 5 tips here that I sort of say your budget. What is your budget? What is your destination? Where are you going with that tent?
Mm,
And also the weight of the tent. That's fairly critical because you don't want to be carrying extra weight that you don't need to carry. I mean, having 2 people helps you balance that out, though, doesn't it? Because you can share the load as far as that weight goes. Durability and design. Would be my key features as far as when purchasing a tent. And realistically, you've got to do your research because you need to find out what you like someone else may not like, like everyone's got their own opinion on what they require for their trip. So I like to have the both sides that, you can go in and out on either side. So you don't have to climb over someone. You can just exit
mm.
on either side of the tent. So all of those things play a part in how you're going to pick your tent.
The other thing with that is one of the questions in here is, can you really hire a tent? So generally, if you're going with a
Mm,
group and you're going off trail, so when we do our Japala hikes, or when we did Kakadu, or when we did Bungles, or when we did Walls of Jerusalem, or any of those ones, or Overland Track, you can hire a tent.
yeah,
Then, it may be a little bit heavier, but you know that's going to be suited to the conditions.
exactly.
So, yeah, if you're going on your own, do a whole lot of research, go on the criteria that Mandy suggested, and if not, if you're going with a group, then I would suggest hiring one of those. The budget is then, it's generally absorbed into the cost of the adventure, or it's a little bit, additional cost.
And
Um,
it's fun. It's fun.
it is fun.
I mean, yeah, it's good fun.
Leanne from Adelaide has just said that Zerali have a great tent for two. It's light and plenty of space. So again, just check what you're using it for and where you're going and what you're prepared to carry. And generally, with any piece of hiking equipment, you'll probably find this too, Mandy. The lighter it is, the more you pay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You get what
So
you pay for, they say, Yvonne.
yeah, and you do get what you pay
Yeah.
for. Let me trust
Yeah.
you.
So,
Let me trust you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's very true. There's lots of brands out there. You've just got to
Yeah.
you've got to do your research. I think the waterproofing is, you just never know, the conditions. You might get an afternoon storm or something like that as well, especially if you're doing a sort of a hike where you might, be hiking in sort of northern Queensland or somewhere like that.
Mm.
So making sure it's really waterproof is really important, especially the base of the tent. Yeah, so there's
Or a
lots,
heavy dew. A
yeah,
heavy dew
that's
can.
right, a heavy dew and condensation. I know when we go, we actually take, we have our tent, but we also have a fly, not a fly, like a bat wing that goes over the top of it that assists in reducing the dew
Mm,
on the tent in the nighttime, and so your tent's not as wet the next morning when
pack
you
up.
have to pack
Yeah.
it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So Wendy says the Mont Moon Dance. Now we love the Mont brand. It's
well,
Australian, but it is pricey. Mont, but it is quality. Is a fantastic freestanding 3 seasons tent. So check which season you're going in if it's only three. Pricey but reliable. Mont is a
yeah,
very
well,
good
I
brand.
wasn't going to tell you what tent I have, but I do have the Mont Moon Dance
There
3.
you go. Yeah, and Wendy
So,
says it's 1.5 kilos with a ground sheet.
yeah,
So, but again, do your research, and again, if you're paying for anything, just make sure that it's on sale, because sales are coming up. There's some Black Friday sales if you're watching it at this time live, or there's Christmas pre-sale and
yeah.
Boxing Day sales coming up as
Yeah,
well.
The Mont tent, we love ours. It's been fabulous. We've had it for 6 years, and I could not make one complaint about it. It's awesome. So,
Mm,
but again, it's
excellent.
really personal choice. You've got to find what
Yeah.
suits
Absolutely. And if you're not in a hurry, maybe just hire some tents and go out and have a practice. So we have another question. If I'm training for a hike with a 3-hour trail walk required, so we're talking about someone who's either new to their hiking journey or coming back from injury or illness. So training for a hike with a 3-hour trail walk required, how much can I walk on other days without overtraining? So the answer to that, and I'll get Mandy to jump in as well, well, it depends. It depends. It depends on your current fitness
you.
level and what your training week looks like. So with any training, and you can scale this up or down depending where you're at, is that you want to you want it's a bit like training for a marathon or any event. You want one to be a long hike, and then you want some shorter walks. So you want to get that time on your legs. You want to get that endurance into your body, but you want to keep um, adapting over time. So you want to build some strength in there, and you want to get some cardio as well. So there's those three elements to go together. But if you're always training for a 3-hour walk by doing 3-hour walks, then you're not really training for a 3-hour walk because you've done it. So training is why we train, is we build up to something that we want to do that we haven't done before. So Mandy, do you want to add anything to
Well,
that?
yeah, I mean, and like you've sort of said it in the past too, Yvonne, is throwing in those stairs as well. Like you don't necessarily have to be doing that 3 hour hike every single time. You can change up your training by introducing other things that do extend you and do build the endurance in your legs, and also they increase your fitness. And you've got to listen to your body, because if you don't listen to your body, you'll then get an injury, and we don't want that, because then you're not going to be able to do that 3 hour hike, you know? So you've got to make sure that you're pacing yourself so you can get to that end goal. If you're hiking, if your body's not ready to do that, you'll end up getting injured, and you don't want that because it'll ruin your trip.
Exactly. And if we're always training, so when we go on our adventures, we give you a training plan, which is either 3 months or 4 months, depending where you're going. And your starting point depends where the adventure, the level of difficulty or challenge the adventure is. But you don't want to hike and train at that peak level all the time,
Mm,
because you're going to fatigue your body and you are going to get injured. So if you are not, if your current hiking is with, say, 5 kilos in your pack, and you need to bump it up to, say, 9 or 10 because you're going to maybe an alpine condition, or you've got an overnighter at a hut somewhere, you wouldn't do all of your training at 10
no.
kilos in your pack. You'd build up and make sure that your hydration and your nutrition came along with you as well. So for the 3 hour hike, if you wanted to do, train for a 3 hour hike, over the course of a week, you're probably looking at maybe 4 to 5 hours in total of
Mm.
everything that you do, which includes the stairs, which includes, other cardio, and includes some short walks, and allows for those rest days, because rest is just as important.
Exactly. And some sort of strength training as well. Like I know we get strength training when we're actually out hiking carrying a pack, but it's really important to focus on those little muscle groups that perhaps we forget about. So whether you might want to throw in a Pilates class, or you're going to do some proper strength training, I think it's an all-encompassing thing. It doesn't just come down to the hike. It comes down to a whole body being trained during the course of the week. I think it's
Mm.
important that we don't forget about, that includes your mind as well, not just physically your body. So we need to include our mental health and our physical health when it comes to achieving that goal, to doing a 3 kilometer hike, a 3 hour hike.
Yeah, yeah. And then if you're at the, other end, and you're doing like an 8 to 10 hour hike, which is,
Mm,
when we go to New Zealand and do Tongariro, or when we go to Kangaroo Island and you're out for,
yeah.
5, 6 hours, it's what you do in the lead up to the week that you're on that adventure as well, or that you're on that 3 hour hike. And it's looking at, you can go back to some of our other master classes which talk about nutrition and stuff. It's the week that precedes it. It's the 7 3s are 21, 3 meals a day. It's at least 21 meals across the course of the week that get your body in great condition for how you're going to perform on the trail.
Yeah, and hydration as well. That's another
Yeah,
thing to consider.
yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. That's one thing we did really, really well in Morocco, was drink water. They must have thought Australian women were crazy, because we said we need water, and they said, yeah, we got water, but we're like, no, more water, more water, more
Water.
water. And they're like, what? But they figured it out after day two. So uh love some questions from our audience. If you've got questions there, I haven't seen any pop through yet. I'll check the chat while I'll ask this question, get Mandy to answer, and I'll check the chat. So, my boots are worn in and they are comfy. How do I know when it's time to replace them?
We'll know when you need to replace them if there's no grip left on the bottom for a start. And when you start hiking, you start slipping in them. That'll start to show you that they're ready to be traded in. And I was looking at my shoes the other day when we were out hiking at Nerang, and I thought, geez, I can't believe how quickly these shoes have deteriorated. So you really need to make sure that there's enough traction on the bottom of the shoes. And if they start to stretch, that's when we start to get slippage. And that's when we start to also find that you'll start to get blisters, which we don't want when we're out on the trail. You get those hot spots. Yeah, but I think it's about, isn't it like 300 kilometers or something, or 400 kilometers per shoe, Yvonne?
Roughly about 600.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's yeah, and it depends on how often you wear how often you're training and things like that as well, and what terrain you're training on.
Mm.
can determine how long your shoes are going to last for. Just because
That's
they're
right.
comfy now doesn't mean they'll be comfy. You know, when you might be training at the moment, and then you might be a 3 month training program, and you might find that your shoes need to be upgraded before you head off. But hopefully that's not the case. But yeah, it really does depend on the shoes you've purchased as well, what brand they are. Do they wear down quickly? Things like that.
That's it, exactly. And if your feet start to ache more than usual,
Mm,
that's a
yeah,
good sign, or your ankles start to hurt. But if you are slipping out, then, have a look at your grip. That tread should look like good tractor tires.
yes,
Um, and if they leak, if you get wet feet, if you're out in the rain and you end up, you know, that your shoes have somehow
lost
lost
their
their
waterproofing.
waterproofness,
Yeah.
then that's a good thing to look at. And one of the things I do, if I'm in doubt about my shoes, I've kind of figured it out now after all these years, but if I'm in
Mm,
doubt about my shoes, I'll actually take them into K2, which is our store here in Brisbane. But I'll take them into the trusted store and get their honest opinion. And if you
yeah,
trust the
good
store, they're
idea.
not going to say, yeah, you need a new pair, if you don't. But I look at my shoes. My shoes are pretty good at the moment, so they'll get me through probably till they've lasted a while, probably through till maybe February next year. But I'll be checking them, about 6 weeks ahead of an adventure that's coming up.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the
And for
same.
waterproofness too, especially, we've got some trips to Cozzy, we've got some couch to mountains, and we've got some New Zealand things and Kangaroo Island things where water, rain is potential, and just making sure,
Possibility.
yeah, absolutely, that we don't get our feet too wet. Now, I've got a couple of questions sitting here in the chat. I think, yeah, I've fixed the chat now. Look at that. It takes longer to get to Talgana. The chat. No, 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 no. It was me. I had just enabled the chat, but not let anybody talk. Okay, so, uh, okay. Can you explain how to pack a backpack for an overnight hike that includes a tent, sleeping gear, food, etc.? Where to put in the backpack to pack the heaviest gear? So, um, Maddie, do you want to answer that one first?
Well, I tend to, it's about balance. You don't want all the heavy stuff. You want to balance the pack out. So you want to have don't go too heavy at the bottom. You want the heavy stuff in the center and then work your way to the top. So you also want to make sure that whatever you're really going to need, like things like a first aid kit, those things that you're going to need, that you might need in case you need it to repair a blister or something like that, or you've got an injury, that needs to be in a place where you can get it out straight away. So you also need to make sure, like things like your sleeping bag and your clothes and things like that, they're probably going to go down the bottom. Then you'll work your way up. You'll have your more heavier stuff in the center, and then gradually climb your way to the top to the more important things, such as food, um, and things that you need readily available on the trail.
Mm.
That would be
Um,
my recommendation.
That's perfect recommendation because we have a masterclass on that as well, which talks about how to pack a backpack. And the principle is the same whether you are going for a day hike or a multi-day
Mm,
hike, is that, or an overnight hike where you need to take more gear. We were having a chat about this the other day on the trail where, you'll see, I don't, if you remember the movie with Reese Witherspoon, what was that movie
yeah.
called?
Uh,
Wild or something, wasn't
yeah,
it?
the wild.
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 And she started off her hike where she had so much stuff and so much hanging off her pack. And I know many years ago when we did a full pack hike, I was following someone who had heaps of stuff hanging off their pack. And I was literally picking it up as I went because it kept
Mm.
falling off. So you
And it
want to
catches
make,
on things.
it does catch on things. So you want to make sure that whether it's day hike, like a day pack, or whether it's a overnight, needing the tent, or whether it's a multi-day, that you can fit as much inside your backpack,
Mm.
much inside that cavity as you possibly can, because it minimizes the chance of you losing something or getting snagged on something, or when you turn around, wiping
Mm.
somebody out as well. Um,
And it's good to also, Yvonne, have things, in waterproof
Dry
bags and stuff
sacks.
like that.
Yeah.
Like you can buy like a large plastic bag that you could put inside your backpack that takes up the whole space, and you put things inside that. Or you buy separate waterproof dry bags, and you allocate the dry bag according to what gear you're taking. So you'd have your clothes in a dry bag. And then in some cases, some people even put their tent in depending on the location they're going. So it really depends on, if it's going to be a wet hike, you need to make sure that the gear you've got inside your bag, even though you may have your wet pack, your rain cover on your backpack, doesn't necessarily mean that everything will stay dry. So everything in some sort of dry bag is also important. So I tend to utilize that as my method of packing. So I have things in dry bags that I know where they go in my pack, and then I just work my way to the top. That's how I do it. But,
You're very organized. I find that putting one of those, the dry bags are probably easier than putting a liner or a rubbish bag in, because it's like a cave.
I don't like the cave idea, but a lot of people do have that option.
A lot of people do. And especially, for us going to New Zealand in particular, because it can just pound down in an instant, that rain, that if you have stuff in those dry bags or in a big garbage bag, and we always put a garbage bag, if it's not there, it should be on there on our packing list, because you can put your wet weather gear and stuff like that when you've finished. But as Mandy said, the protective cover that comes with your pack, and if you're not aware, it's generally in a day pack zipped down the bottom, pulls out and covers it, but it's not really waterproof. It's not a heavy duty waterproof. It's probably more water resistant. So making sure that the things that, if they get wet, if your pack gets wet, the things that matter are protected. One way to give you a bit more space in your pack, and if you're in that climate where the weather does change, is to lift up the hood of your pack. So you know how it clips down, and you open it up and roll your raincoat and put it in the hood and then clip it back down, especially if your raincoat is coming on and off all the time.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, it just gives, we learned that when we were on Great Ocean Road this year, yes, because it just rained for 20 minutes and then it stopped, and then 2 hours later it rained again, and we were just stopping all the time. So we really just stuck that underneath there. So I have another question about rain and raincoats. Can you recommend a specific waterproofing product for my rain jacket? It's a ripper of a jacket, and I've not had any success with Macpac or Kathmandu products. Or do jackets have a waterproof lifetime? It's approximately 4 years old and many thousands of kilometers old. Now, the question comes from someone in Victoria, so we do know it rains down there more frequently, maybe not as much water, but more frequently than here. So I'm just going to quickly answer, and then Mandy, you can jump in. The Nick Wash is the brand to use, and you need a washing machine and you need a clothes dryer. But raincoats do have a lifetime span of them. The material does start to break down after a little while. So if you're finding that you've got to 4 years, and try the waterproof, but if it's not working, it might be time to replace the raincoat.
Yeah, that would be exactly what I would suggest. Yeah, I've got a couple of raincoats. I've got, because we're in Queensland, I tend to I've got a lighter weight one that I use I think it's also on its way out. But then I've also got the Mont one, which is a heavier duty one, which obviously
love our Mont.
Quality, the quality of that is excellent. So I would recommend what you've just said, Yvonne, about doing what you've done. Just re-waterproof it, and if it doesn't work, it's obviously time to trade it in and look for something that's on, special. There's lots of sales on, so just keep an eye out for something that's on special. And obviously in Victoria, living down that way, she'd probably use a Mont jacket more than we do in Queensland. Yeah, but it really, again, it's about budget,
It is about budget, and for hiking gear, never pay full price. Never.
No,
it will always come on sale. Or there'll be an equivalent brand. So I would suggest with that raincoat, if you love that so much, is take it into a store that isn't one brand focused. So Macpac and Kathmandu, to some extent Paddy Palin, but Macpac and Kathmandu are very focused on their own brands. But if you go to an independent store, and there's Adelaide has the Scout Shop, there's Paddy Palin, which has other brands, K2 has other brands. There's some independent stores as well. Take the raincoat in and say, I love this coat for these reasons.
Mm,
What's an equivalent? But I just want to preface the waterproofness when we're hiking, and some coats have the zips under here and stuff.
mm,
But if it's raining and you have poles and you lift your pole above, like if you're always down like that, no water's going to come in. But when you have your pole that's slightly above your where it ties at the wrist, water's going to go down there. So just check that the waterproofness is water getting in through rain and penetrating, as opposed to water coming in through here,
yeah,
or that your hood is sitting here and you've just got a cap on and water's not seeping down the back of your neck, or it's not sweat. So if our body temperature on the inside is warmer than the outside, we're going to sweat. So just check those things as well. All right. Next question I have here, and she thought we'd say that. This one here, Ellen says, different types of coats require different waterproofing. If your coat is expensive, you need to check out the brand recommendations for waterproofing. Yep. So my suggestion, we love Mont, would be just go onto the Mont website and ask for what waterproofing they
mm.
have to offer there, because you're going to get the bee's knees. And Leanne says there's a store in Adelaide called Exerbia on the parade at Norwood, has many brands. So we love that. We love supporting the independent
Yeah.
operator as well. Okay, so I have another question here, and it doesn't matter, this question, whether you are new to hiking, coming back, or super experienced, because when you're in a group, we all have these feelings. I get anxious about being the slowest in the group. What do I do?
We're the slowest in the group, or is it the
Yeah, that's
end?
right. That's right. Mm. Um, don't don't get anxious. The more anxious you get, the more things you've got to think about and the more energy that you use. And it depends on the group you're with as well. And the group you're with can make you feel more so that way. But if you're in a group that you
Mm,
feel comfortable with, that you're supportive with, that feeling is owned by you then. And no matter what, certainly us, what we say, it may not alleviate that feeling until you can figure out that it doesn't really matter if you're the slowest in the
exactly.
group,
Doesn't
provided you do the training for the hike that you're signed up to. Then please don't worry about being,
yeah.
don't try and remove some of that anxiety about being
And
slowest.
it's also even about enjoying what's around you. Like I think we overthink the fact that oh gosh, I'm going to be the slowest and people are going to be waiting for me, or all of those things we've all been there. But I think we need to remember where we are and why we're there. We're there
Mm.
to have the experience. We're there to experience with like-minded women. And everyone does support everyone. As you know, on the multi-days, that I've been on, it's just remarkable the support that everyone gets from each other. So, yeah, it's understandable that people feel like that, but I think it's about enjoying the experience and just taking it all in.
Well said. And it's also the transformation and the learning
Oh, it's
experience.
incredible,
You
just
know,
incredible.
every single time I go
Mm,
on an adventure, on a hike, I learn something from someone else, whether
same.
that's a new way to do something, whether that's about a piece of gear, whether that's the mindset of someone who is nervous or someone who's super confident.
Mm,
I always take something away. So if you can, and I know it's hard when we feel worried and uncertain about things, but if you can flick that switch and go, this is a great learning experience for me. How
mm.
do I take away something that will make me 1% more confident or 1% more improved? And enjoying that experience gives you something else to focus on.
Yeah, and it's also remembering that you've signed up to do it. You've made the commitment to do it. So enjoy that commitment and enjoy the end result of it. Like it's about like here you are now and look where you're going to be in the end as
Yeah,
well. Yeah.
exactly. And try and think about all the things that you've gained to get to the
Oh,
point where you
so
are,
many.
rather than and I'm guilty of this with everything I want to do for the business.
Yeah.
How far do I have to keep, how do I get there when
Yeah.
I've tend to just go, forget about all the things that I've
Yeah,
done.
we're all guilty of it, Yvonne, all of
We
us.
are all
Yeah.
guilty. Okay, so here's a question. This is putting our PT hats on here, Mandy. I'm
Mhm.
hiking regularly. Why haven't I gotten any fitter?
What else are you doing? Are you
Mm,
hiking
mm,
regularly, or you like it basically comes back to the same question we had before about the 3 hour hike. Like you're hiking regularly, but what else are you doing? It can't just be the hiking. It's got to be a all-encompassing thing.
mm.
So you've got to build strength, endurance. You will be getting fitter. I'm sure you're getting fitter, but it's about everything you're doing, not just the one thing.
It is. And if our members can recall the masterclass we did not long ago on benchmarking,
Mm,
is how do you know you're getting fitter or not if you're not hiking with the type of hikers that you are going to be going on an adventure with? If you're always hiking with the same people doing the same trails,
mm,
then you're going to have the same time frames. And I know one of our members who's here, she's the one that inspired the benchmarking. She records how far she went, how fast she went, the terrain she went on, the backpack, because she found that if she wasn't doing that, she was slowing down.
yeah,
So, getting fitter is at such we all want to get
very
fitter.
broad. Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a subjective thing, but
Mm,
finding the things you want to measure about your fitness. So for the 3 hour hike, if that is your measure of fitness, that you can do a 3 hour hike and comfortably walk away from it, then you are fitter than you were before.
yeah.
But if there's no boundaries or there's no goals or there's no measurement stick, then you can say you're fitter or not fitter.
Yeah, well, a prime example the other day when we were out hiking, Amy, who's doing the December Couch to Mountain, we were talking about that benchmarking and we were discussing it collectively. And she was talking about these stairs that she was using for her hike, for her training, sorry. And, when she first started going up the stairs, like she spends half an hour there, she really struggled and she stopped every so often. She was stopping. But now, so many months into her training, she says, I can go up those stairs now. So that's how she's knowing that, yes, she is getting fitter. So that's something that perhaps whoever's put that question forward could consider is
Mm.
finding a benchmark, whether it's stairs or whether it's a distance over certain, how far she can do a kilometre or 2 kilometres, whether it's with or without your backpack. All those things can be considered a form of building fitness.
Absolutely. And unless we're measuring it or being conscious of what that means, we don't suddenly arrive at better fitness.
Mm,
Like you're not going to wake up one day and go, I've arrived at the fitness I wanted to, unless you've actually been recording what it
yeah.
is that you're doing. So awesome. Um, we've had that question. Um, so I've got a question here. Um, how do I pack light without leaving out essentials?
It's a
So
good one.
I have some theories here, which is, I have maybe their whatever, bugbears, whatever they are. Bed,
They're not bed
bugbears.
bugs.
No, it's not bed bug. Bug, um, you can pack light. You need to pack Goldilocks. That's what you need to do. So, there's a lot of things around on social media about when you travel on a plane, travel internationally to go hiking, and you need to just have carry on and nothing else. Um, there's no point in that. There's no point in compromising and leaving things behind if you don't have to. But then there is a point to packing stuff that you literally don't need. So generally, when you come with us, we give you a packing list and we explain
Mm,
why those things are needed on the packing list. I can't speak for other companies, but a packing list is designed to give you the things that you need, nothing more, nothing less. So if you stick to that packing list, you should have just the right amount. You can buy lighter weight things, but I would suggest that when we did a hike in Iceland years ago, someone took an ultralight pack, absolutely ultralight. The frame was ruined by the end of it because it was
mm,
so light, but it didn't come with any rain gear. to cover it. So when we had got stuck in an Arctic storm, the stuff inside the pack was in dry bags, but there was no other protection for that pack. So you need to work out where your compromise point is when you choose lightweight stuff. And yes, you can take some lightweight stuff out. If you haven't bought if your backpack needs replacing soon and it's say 4 or 5 years old, you're going to find a huge difference in the weight of a day pack now to
Mm,
4 or 5 years ago. And that's a way you can probably take, half a kilo to 800 grams out
exactly.
of your pack weight.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's about being practical too, I think, Yvonne. You don't, you don't want to pack the kitchen sink, obviously. You just need to be sensible about what you're taking. You have a couple of, sets of trousers that can, your hiking pants could be utilized if you're going somewhere, for out for dinner or something. Just think about what you're packing and how that comes together collectively for your whole trip, because there's
Mm.
items that you can, that are very versatile that can be used for more than one purpose. I think
Mm.
thinking about packing your clothing that it's not just being used for hiking, it could be used for something else while you're on the trail or while you're in the destination you're going to.
But I think it's not actually the clothing. I think it's, I've seen first aid kits
Oh, all the
and
incidentals.
all the incidentals because they can
Mm,
all add up. You don't need a whole roll of toilet roll.
no,
You just need maybe a small packet of
yes,
tissues. If you're hiking in a group and there's a group first aid kit, then you just need to have your requirements. You don't need 4 strips of Panadol. You only
mm,
can have 6 Panadol or 8 Panadol a day.
okay,
So, taking out some of those things, they may not seem significant, but if you can take 200 or 300 grams out of your first aid kit and, you can, I would suggest putting more water in and emptying out water later on than
yeah,
carrying a lot of the just in case stuff that generally isn't needed. So have a look at your hiking over the term that you've been hiking. Have a look at the things that are in your pack and what you use all the time and start to make a list and go, well, I
mm,
always take that, but it's never ever needed. It's a
never
just in
needed.
case or yeah, I'm not saying compromise on safety in any way, but we
No.
tend to, you know, put in 3 sets of gloves because it might get cold. One's rainproof, one's just warmth, and one's for
Yeah.
fashion. Things like that, even in our gear that we take in a separate bag. So have a think about that one. I have another question. How do I know if I'm ready for a multi-day hike or an overseas adventure?
Oh, that's a good question.
The live audience is not giving us many questions. These are ones that were
No,
sent
they're
in.
the ones that you're asking us, Yvonne.
Yes.
Yes, it's a
So,
very good question.
so I have this theory that most people never feel ready. You never feel ready. And it's not until you commit to something that you get the oh shit moment and then you go, well, I need to train for this. Because we don't have to do a multi-day hike in our training to do a multi-day hike.
Mm.
But we do need to have that commitment. We do need to show up with consistency. We need to do that all-rounded training. But we'll never feel ready for anything unless we commit to something. So if you are enjoying hiking, if you are regularly on the trails, if you're feeling confident with your body, and ask yourself what's stopping me from signing up to an adventure.
Yeah, it's also a mindset thing, isn't it? And I think committing to the training is important as well. And I think that's one of the great things about what's offered with lots of our multi-days is the opportunity to get that training plan, and that enables you to feel ready. As you said, you may not feel completely ready, but you'll be prepared. You'll be prepared and you'll think how amazing it is. I want to do this again. That's how I would,
Absolutely.
yeah, I would
Yeah.
say, how do you know? Well, you've just got to commit and do the training, as you said.
But
Um,
it's like when you're at school or university and you enroll in a subject and you don't know anything about that subject. Well, when I first went to university, I didn't know anything about accounting or anything like
mm,
that. Not that I'm an accountant, and there's nothing wrong with being an accountant. Um, and I had to learn it, but then you get a test on it. So, but I just kept showing up and I just kept absorbing and I just kept doing what I was required to do, and I was able to pass the subject. It's the same with whatever hike or whatever adventure you book yourself onto. It's well, I'm enrolling in this and I'm going to back myself. And as women, we tend to underestimate ourselves a lot. And we listen to people who don't have our same interests or who have their views pushed upon us of why would you want to do that? Um, but then you learn along the way. I mean, we'll teach you, we'll train you, and if you want to come with us, we'll take you. So, it's putting your faith in yourself and working out that this is something that you want to do. And once you've done it once, you kind of get hooked and do it again and again.
It is a bit like that. It's a bit addictive.
But you
Yeah.
don't have to do a multi-day hike to do a multi-day hike in terms of your training. You don't have to, when we do in New Zealand, the Tongariro Day, which is, all day 20-kilometer crossing, you don't have to, and then, there's other days on the adventure, you don't have to have completed a week's hiking in your training all in one block to be able to go on an adventure. And I think that we sometimes feel that, well, I'm not going to do something unless I'm really good at it, so I'm not going to do it at all.
Mm,
I think there's a bit of mindset around that one as well.
definitely.
What's another question? Come on, live audience, ask us some questions. What's the difference between trail grading systems? So I know that some of those trail grading systems, I don't
Yeah.
know who's making them up.
Yeah. They're very different, aren't they? Depends on which state you go to as
Or
well.
country.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or country. So, a level 5 might mean something completely different in Australia to somewhere else. So, yeah, they're very, very varied.
Mm.
So,
So generally though, the grading system in Australia, the more technical it is,
yeah,
the higher the grading. So technical doesn't necessarily mean that it's just a completely hard slog the whole time. You could have a 1 kilometer trail that's a grade 5 because it's steep
deep.
or it's got lots of obstacles or rock scrambling or trees and stuff to get over, or you've got to go down a gully and up again.
Mhm.
So the thing that gives it the highest rating is what's the most technical part of the trail. So Green Gully hike in New South Wales, I would consider that, grade 5. It's steep, it's
Mhm.
remote, it's you got to navigate up a river as part of the trail. There is no track for some of it as well. I would
Yeah.
consider that a grade 5.
Yeah, and I think somewhere like, some of the great walks, like the great walk that I've done in Australia, for example, a couple of those ones I've done are graded as a 5, but that's because they're remote, and some of the terrain is, not all of it, but some of it is rock scrambling or, going up in escarpments or things like that. So that's where it gets a little bit more, I guess, having a little bit more experience to achieve that, having done more hiking to know how to handle that, from a great level 5 hike. That's in Australia. I haven't done as much as you have, Yvonne, internationally, but how does it stand overseas from the
Um,
grading perspective? Similar or slightly different?
no, slightly very different. What they consider moderate, well, what they consider introductory overseas is generally our moderate, and what they consider moderate would be challenging
Okay.
because, well, that's particularly in Europe.
Yeah.
Um, because in Europe they have higher peaks, but we don't
Mm.
do altitude. But they have scree, a lot of scree. New
Mm.
Zealand has scree. So scree is either soft rock or fine pebbles. So it's really uneven and uncertain underfoot. Or with the Pyrenees, you're hiking literally over rocky scree up and down for, days on end, and you're going up 1,000 meters, down 1,000 meters. But they would consider that moderate, whereas we would say that that is challenging. And we've
Challenging.
learned that over time. It's like, hey,
Mm.
this isn't what we thought it was. But and a lot of Europeans in the places we go to hike, that's their backyard. Same with New Zealand, it's their backyard. But for a lot of us, it's hiking's a skill or a hobby that we may have had as kids, left for a little while and then picked up again. So that varies from location to location. So our audience has spoken. The question about the 3 hour was referring to training, not an actual 3 hour hike. I just picked up 3 hours for an example. I'm also doing a step fit class and 2 trail fit classes.
Oh, okay.
I'm not yet doing the 30 minutes of stairs, but I'm starting to incorporate that now. I feel like I have almost completely recovered to training, not an actual 3 hour hike. So in the program, I think it says that you need to do a 3 hour trail hike. Can you just refresh me on that one? And while I'm waiting for your answer, we'll move to the next question. How do you train for scree? You don't. It's hard. There's a couple, if you can go to Tassie, there's a couple of mountains down there that you can train on. If you train on sand, I generally don't recommend you train in sand dunes because there's a lot of pressure that's put through your Achilles and your calf if you're on sand dunes. If you want to do sand dunes, wear boots. I would wear your shoes. But you can use a sand dune to practice that slide going down of just letting yourself go in a comfortable way, not completely losing control. Scree is very similar to ice. So one of the in Iceland, when we came down from the top hut on our last day, there was a bed of ice, and everyone's really tensed up and cautious, but you just have to let your foot slip a little. It'll naturally, a bit like ice skating, and if you don't ice skate, that might be terrifying too, but it'll come to a natural stop. Whereas if you try to force it, you tense up and it makes the situation a little bit more difficult. But we teach that when we go with you, and there's places like that on the trail. We actually stop and use those as teaching moments. When we went to Couch to Mountain a couple of years ago, there'd been an unexpectedly late snow season. So we had to teach everyone how to hike over snow, or Australian snow, which is a bit more icy in November and December, how to walk over that, how to, make sure that we were confident and sturdy in our feet. So the same thing applies to the scree. So when we go to Tongariro, once we get to the top of the volcano there, and we're coming down to our lunch spot, there is some scree. So we'll stop at the top and we'll teach you how to go down scree safely, how to give safe distance to everyone as well. It's the same as if you are out and about and there's some gravelly trails, and in Queensland there's lots of gravelly trails because it's just not wet enough. It's making sure that you choose a path of least resistance, that you're not getting all the gravelly bits like ball bearings under your feet. It's pushing your feet into the ground. So all those principles apply. Your head starts to change when you get on this different surface.
Yeah.
Do you want to add anything to that, Mandy?
Oh, I was just going to say that, there are certain, I know when in Tassie, we went to Maria Island and we climbed up, and there was quite a bit of, that, and the same in, there was some similar terrain, but not as the rocks were quite a bit sort of bigger. And fortunately, the terrain there had been an imprint in the path that we were traveling, so it was a little bit easier to go across the terrain. But yeah, it was challenging. And as you said, Yvonne, just making sure that your foot position you're a bit more sure-footed. You just have to concentrate. And obviously utilizing the poles is another thing as well to help support you if you are a bit unsure.
Absolutely. And you just have to, with any trail, just make sure that you're using your poles the right way.
Yeah.
And again, teaching moments for that, but also that they're not going to get stuck in any rocks and kind of, as you go along.
Exactly.
So here's a question. On a normal easy day for us both, you and I, easy day, i.e. a cardio session, then office work, how many liters of water would you drink? So today I've got jet lag. So I'm up to about 2.5 liters today. So I went to the gym and did a workout this morning. And then I had a massage this morning, and then early for work. And then I've been in the office sitting down all day because in my jet lagged state last night, I got up to go to the toilet and kicked my toe. It is purple.
Oh, I
tell
hope
you
you
what,
haven't
lucky.
broken it.
No. Lucky I won't put it up on screen. Lucky I had balance though, but I was so heavily asleep when I got up. So Anyway, so that's how
Awesome.
much water I would drink. How much? I'm not a great water drinker, so I'm really trying to get to 2.5 to 3 liters a day.
Yeah, I'd agree about the 2 liters, would be because I did the gym this morning and then I did go for a bit of a walk, and then did another walk this afternoon. So that's probably what I would aim for. It's not always perfect because I get a bit lazy sometimes, just depending on what's going on. Just got to keep reminding yourself. I've got a trick. My mother-in-law's got a trick for her water intake, and she has this little jar that she puts on her kitchen bench that's got marbles in it. And every time she has a glass of water, she takes one marble out and puts it in another glass to make sure she has 10 glasses a day. So
You're
there
not
you
losing
go.
marbles.
Yeah, not losing her marbles. There you go.
Um,
But yeah,
but you
two
can
liters is
also,
what I do.
yeah, you can also get water from other things. So if you're having herbal teas, there's some water
Yeah.
in some foods. Like watermelon's got heaps of water. Um, so I think, you know, I bought some fancy scales the other day and it tells you your hydration levels as well, which is a bit scary. Um, but if you feel foggy or you
A bit
feel
dizzy.
dehydrated or
Dizzy,
skin,
yeah.
yeah, then I would suggest having water. I have a hydrolyte every day, whether I'm working out or not. Um, so have a think about that. Measure how much water you have and how you feel if you have more or you have less. But great question. Um, Okay, so that one is a 3 hour trail walk. So for Christine there, how do you, if I just come back to the original question here, um, is if I'm in training for a 3 hour trail walk, um, how much can I walk on other days without overtraining? So I would be, So I would be doing some other walks during the week for that,
Mm,
Christine. So I would be doing, 45 minutes to an hour, maybe 2 other days a week,
yeah.
and then leaving a bit of space to recover from those and then going out on your 3 hour trail walk. But
Yeah.
making sure that you've had enough water, making sure you've got the right nutrition, making sure that you eat well before, um, and making sure that, you've got the right mindset to head out for it as well.
Yeah, and also depending on what trail you're walking on, like is it a bit hillier? Think keeping in mind what terrain you're going on. If you've got a little bit more of an incline, then you're going to be pushing yourself a little bit more. So making sure you're including that in your shorter walks as well. So you're building a bit more strength as far as going uphill and endurance and climbing hills. Because it's surely if you're doing a 3 hour trail walk, there'll be hills on it as well.
Absolutely. And she says she's been aiming for about 5,000 steps every day, which takes about an hour. So I'm going to challenge you there. If that's taking you about an hour, start writing that down. If
Yeah.
if it's an hour and you're always doing well, you're probably not because you move around a lot. But if for everyone, if you're always doing the same circuit and it's taking you the same amount of time, then go turn it back and
Go
walk around backwards, not
backwards, go the
backwards,
other
but
way.
turn the other way and do it. And start to maybe walk fast between one street to the next and then back to your normal rate. So just try and, mix it up a little bit because our body will take and our ego will find the easy way. We'll start to, that adaptation over time is what once seemed hard will get easy the more routine we have about it as well. So hopefully that answers your question. Another one, we might take last questions now. I've had two severe cramping incidents on the last two adventures I've been on. On
Mm.
both occasions, they occurred about a day after arriving at the adventure. What ideas do you have for keeping hydrated properly when flying or traveling to an adventure and for maintaining electrolytes? So, as someone that's just got off a big long haul flight,
Mm.
um, maybe I had a champagne on the way home, but on the
That's
way,
okay.
that's okay.
You
Um,
deserved it.
it was a country where alcohol was not widely offered. Um, so no one really had much to drink at all over there. Not that we drink a lot. But on the way over, I had been consciously making an effort to drink as much water as I possibly could. It meant getting up and down a lot for the flight, um, but maintaining the same level of water or liquid consumption that I would when I was at home, and also eating as well. There's lots of people that say, um, don't eat on the plane. It'll make you, it'll affect your jet lag and all sorts of things. But in talking to my gut health dietitian, um, she is like, you eat regularly on the plane, because if you don't eat regularly, that's going to start to muck up your bowel movements when you get to
Mhm.
the adventure. And I know some you may not want to hear this, but the holiday fear of going to the toilet
Yeah.
takes some people a couple of days to settle. So the more that you can drink, and the more that you can eat like normal frequency of meals, even if it's not some of the stuff you might normally eat, the better your digestion is going to be, which will help with cramping and will help with jet lag. Electrolytes are worth having. Um, sometimes we're the point where you don't want to drink any more water, an electrolyte is worth having. Um, and talk to a pharmacist or a doctor about the
Yeah, some
volume of
magnesium
electrolytes.
beforehand as
Yeah,
well. Like
magnesium,
start
magnesium spray.
yeah, start taking some a good quality magnesium in the lead up to that trip. Often is a good idea as well. I know you get benefits from the electrolytes as well, but just pure magnesium helps with cramping too.
As
So
much as you can keep things like
yeah,
normal,
yeah,
but magnesium is great all round.
yeah,
But if you're finding, Ellen, that it's happened each time you go on a flight, um, and it happens, then it's clearly something to do with either being out of your normal environment
yeah, or
and
hydration.
and hydration, or something that, you're getting dehydrated from the flight, or you're not drinking enough water or food on the flight, or the lead up to going on the flight as well. Because we tend to, as women, I'm going to generalize, panic about the whole toilet situation when we're on planes, when we're in different environments, even if we're going camping on a hike, it's like, oh God, I've got to go to the toilet, I want to do bushwee, all that sort of stuff. So we need to, in a nice way, get over that so that we can keep our system as regular as possible, which then helps our hiking
Mm.
as well. So hopefully that answered your question there. Okay, so we don't have any more open questions. Oh, yeah, Ellen said very helpful. So we've got time for just one more question, um, if there is one coming from anyone. Otherwise, I'm just going to do one more question here. So last chance. No? All right, so this last question before we sign off is, what's the best way to improve uphill hiking without access to trails?
Mm.
Stairs. So,
Stairs.
because when we go uphill, we get out of breath, and you cannot hike uphill without getting out of breath, right? No matter whether it's a little or a lot. So you have to accept that getting comfortable with that, getting out of breath is part of going uphill. But if you live in a flat area, if you live by the sea, like you do, Mandy, or if you
Yep.
live, in some places that it's just flat,
Flat.
live in, the plains of Adelaide or somewhere like that where it's flat and you don't get access to hills, find the stairs, do the step fit classes or do step ups with some weights. Do strength training for your legs,
Yeah.
do the stairmaster at the gym. So anything that will elevate in an uphill way your heart rate will help you on hills.
Yeah, and also if you have got access to a gym and you've got a treadmill, you can have the treadmill on an incline, slight incline, so that that's assisting in, it's like, going uphill. That can also help with
Mm.
thinking about it being a hill. I mean, if you can find it, I know down here at the coast, I've found the stairs, and because I miss my hills in Brisbane. I love my hills. And I also have found one hill, and it's a grassy hill, and I go there and I just go up and down that like 5 times just to make sure. So surely you could find just a little hill and you can just use that one
Mm.
hill as a training mechanism. And that's what I've been doing from my
I,
experience.
Yeah, and I know some members in the past who have lived in country areas have found the football field, and it has one grandstand, and they've
Yeah, and they
gone
go up
up
and
and
down
down
the
the
grandstand.
grandstand. Or
Yeah.
if you can find, if you're up for it, a kids playground that has one of those climbing nets as well, that's using all sorts of things, but you're going uphill and then you're going downhill and you're using some skill
Yeah.
as well. So
And I've been using my pack as well. So if I go up the stairs, I'll put the pack on. So I'm actually adding that little bit of extra weight as well.
some
Just being
resistance.
mindful of your footing and everything. But yeah, that seems to be helping as well to make sure that I'm still, pushing myself so I feel that little bit of breathlessness when I get to the top.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's how quickly your breath recovers when you get to the top
exactly.
as well is a measure
And
of that
mm.
fitness we were talking about before.
Yeah, and we did practice a little bit of that the other day when we were out at Nerang. We found a fairly decent hill, and we did it over 15 minutes. We gave ourselves 15 minutes and we did so many repetitions in that 15 minutes. And we did take our heart rates at the top and then we took our heart rates at the bottom. And we did discuss the fact that it's about the recovery at the
Mm.
other end. And just the balance between those three different times we did it and where our heart rate was sitting gave the ladies a guide as to, their recovery and how far they could go and pushing themselves that little bit further. And
Yeah, and
they surprised themselves actually. Yeah.
and that comes to that benchmarking as well is,
Yeah.
we can't measure what we can't see. So start taking notes about yourself or just observations about how you feel or even your mindset going, I don't want to go do hills, and then go do a hill and see how you feel afterwards.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. All right, so we don't have any more questions and we are the hour. So thank you, Mandy, and thank you everyone
No
for your
worries. Thanks,
questions.
Yvonne. Thanks, everyone.
Our next masterclass is on the 19th of November. It will be our last one for the year. We haven't decided on a topic yet, so if there's something that you would really like discussed, then pop it in here. Or if you would like another Q&A like this, then let us know because we can certainly do this and mix it up with our leaders as well. So thank you very much. The replay will be available tomorrow afternoon. And if you have further questions, then please send them through. But thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
See you,
Mandy.
Yvonne. Bye,
See you.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.